Hey guys, welcome back to Final Fantasy II. Right off the bat, we're fighting some goblins. You might notice they look a little different from the goblins in Final Fantasy I, which I think is kind of nice. Like, they changed up the sprites, give everything a unique art style, didn't just kind of cut and paste. Because they could have, to save time and resources, and it would have worked, but they didn't, so whatever. Now, the first thing you might have noticed in Episode 1 is how plot-heavy this game is. And it really is. It kind of set a precedent for the Final Fantasy series, because, I mean, there's like the Empire of Palamecia conquering the world, there's a rebel force in Fynn, a bunch of orphans, big mission to save the world, people dying. I mean, compared to the first game, the plot is pretty massive, and it's one of the few things this game actually did that carried over to the next Final Fantasy games, like a really plot-heavy experience. Now, moving on to things that didn't carry over as much. You might have noticed, or you might notice, that we aren't gaining experience in the traditional way, like at the end of the match doesn't say you've gained so much experience. Instead, you will see this. Sword level increase, shield level, bow level, axe level, and HP. This game uses a skill-based experience system, kind of like the Elder Scrolls series or I think the Saga JRPGs, where there are weapon skills divided into 8 categories, which are unarmed, sword, spear, axe, staff, knife, bow, and shield. Each one of these skills has their own little experience bar, and as you use those weapons, you gain experience in that skill. There are also 11 attributes. There's, I think, HP, MP, accuracy, evasion, strength, stamina, agility, spirit, intelligence, magic, and magic defense. And again, each of these attributes has its own little experience bar in the game and has its own way of leveling them. Like, if you get hit by an enemy physically, you might raise... Oh, hey, there's an airship flying through the environment. That's kind of neat. Sorry, I got distracted. If you take damage, there's a chance you'll raise your HP, stamina, agility, and evasion. I think if you have a shield equipped and get attacked and block it, there's a chance you'll raise evasion that way, too. When you attack an enemy physically, there's a chance it'll raise your strength, accuracy, and the skill of whatever you attacked your enemy with. As well, casting spells on enemies will raise your MP and magic, where white spells raise spirit, black magic raises intelligence, and then taking damage from spells will raise your magic defense. This skill-based system hasn't really appeared much in later Final Fantasy games. I mean, 11 and 12 kind of did something similar, where 12 had the license system where weapons were divided into that way, and you could level up that license. Not level up, but you can buy licenses with license points to gain skill in certain categories of weapons and armor and spells, which was kind of neat. And then 11 had like class experience and some weapon experience stuff. I don't know, it's been a while since I played that. I really want to get back into it eventually. But anyways, another thing you may have noticed is that Maria is standing slightly behind everyone and not getting hit, like, at all. This game changed up the formation system from the first game, where in the first one you could, like, set who was in front, who was in the bottom, and the first person would get attacked more, but not really. In this game, you can set characters either to the front or to the back. Oh gosh, guy is afflicted with something. So it looks like poison, but it's actually not. It's like a disease kind of thing. And what it is it damages you after every round like poison, but it doesn't linger after battle, which is nice because I don't have to waste antidotes. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and use a potion on him. But anyways, formation. You can see the option right above key terms in the pause menu. I'm going to look at the status real quick. You can see the weapon skills. The stat skills actually aren't... They don't have the experience bars listed. This is also where it would list your spells, if you had any. You can see everyone, I think, is right-handed right now, which is kind of weird, but whatever. I'm going to have to buy a spear for Guy pretty soon. I don't know, when I feel like it, I guess. Anyways, let's try to speak about formation before I get distracted again. If you set a character in the back row, they can only attack with ranged attacks, like bows or magic spells, but as you may have noticed, they won't get hit as often. On a similar kind of risk-reward system there, you can also dual wield, which I've kind of mentioned about Guy. And if you dual wield, it doubles your damage output, which potentially means, you know, getting strength and stuff faster. But without a shield, you're not getting evasion as high, so you're going to be getting hit more, which means your HP is going to go up. So Firion is kind of having a sword and shield. I guess he's fulfilling the DPS class in a sense, where Guy's going to be more of a tank who also deals a lot of damage, but he's going to have a lot of health. And then Maria is kind of the backstore range spellcaster type deal. When I get some spells for her, which I actually want to talk about now. Each character can learn up to 16 spells, regardless of, there's no like skill restriction or class restriction, because there are no classes in this game. It's very much a free-form thing, so you can, you know, learn any white or black magic spells, which is, you know, why the spell store is just one store instead of the black and white stores. And of course, each spell has its own experience bar unique to the character. So there's no like fire, then Fira, then Firaga, then Firaja type thing like in the first game. There's just fire, and as you use it more, you get stronger fire. But if Firion were to learn fire after Maria had fire 5, he would still get fire 1, like he'd still have to build it up on his own. So, yeah. It's kind of complex, but I love it. This is probably one of my favorite games in the Final Fantasy series because I'm a big fan of the Elder Scrolls. Another little thing I'm not going to be able to demonstrate today is you can cast a spell on anyone in the field, like any spell on anyone, which means like you can cast a healing spell on an undead creature and it would damage them. You could cast fire on one of your allies and it would level them up. You can also just kind of attack anyone, and actually one of the grinding strategies is to have one of your characters equip double shields, because that's a thing you can do. And then have one of your other teammates just constantly attack them, and it raises their evasion like crazy. Like, that's the most efficient way to raise evasion. But I think it's a little cheap, because it also raises whatever weapon you attacked them with. And I think now we're gonna go ahead and stop, because, not stop, but like go to the inn. And, you know, it actually would be a good time to pick up those weapons, to get a spear for Guy, because it'll help his damage output a lot. He's gonna get a javelin, because that's the only spear we can get here. And I know it said like the skill was down, but that's because of the way, oh, I hit the wrong button. So there we go, equipment. And javelin, his attack goes up, defense doesn't change. Yeah. We're also gonna, I think, stay at the inn, but I'm not sure. I'll think about it. Because to be honest, I recorded this a few days ago, and I'm now doing the narration. Let's look at the item shop, I guess. I don't know where I'm going. It's been too long. Alright, yeah, buying a potion to keep up to 12, because potions are really useful right now. And yeah. And then, yeah, we're going to stay at the inn. The inn's guild price thing is actually based on how much health and magic you've lost. Which is why it's like 13 now, because we don't have much health to lose, but we've lost a bit. But like later on, it's going to get a bit astronomical. And actually what I end up usually doing is I'll go out in town and cure my people on my own, like with Maria, until I'm out of magic. Then I stay at the inn, and it costs a lot less. And it raises her cure spell up a bit, which is nice. And on that note, I was talking about casting spells on anyone. There's actually kind of a strategy with certain bosses who have Reflect on them, but have an elemental weakness, where you cast Reflect on one of your allies, and then you hit them with a bunch of elemental spells, and it bounces back from them onto the enemy, because it only bounces one way, and that's, I think, necessary in some bosses in Final Fantasy IV, but I don't know if we're going to be using that too much here. Similarly, if you cast restoring spells on undead enemies, it'll damage them, which I mentioned in the first game. But if you try to cast a specific draining spell, like Osmos, I think is one of them, I don't know if it's in this game, but like a spell that's specifically made to drain enemies' health and give it to you, it'll actually backfire and give them health and take yours because of the way it works. The only other thing I can really think of adding right now... Oh, there's a couple things I want to add, but one is actually regarding to the game. Now in the first game I mentioned there were little like peninsulas of power where there were incorrect mapping in the grid in the original game that led to some really strong monsters being in some early levels on like the edges of certain parts of the map or certain islands. And the same actually did happen here. But I'll have to get into more of that in the next episode because we can't look at the world map right now. But the southern tip of where I am right now, like just directly south of Altair on the coast. I'm forgetting how to talk. On the southern tip, the bottom 3 grid tile things, the enemies that spawn there are not meant to be met until much later in the game. They have like 500 health, and for the most part we can't even damage them unless we have magic. Stuff like killer mantises and flans, which I don't even want to get into because those are kind of a weird beast on their own. But there's even like a behemoth boss once. I know because I did this and it sucked. But I wanted to get an elixir which costs 50,000 gil, at least one, so I kind of had to spend like 6 hours grinding. I'm really glad my emulator has a speed up function because it made it a lot easier. The other thing I have to talk about is kind of an awkward little announcement, I guess. Something that isn't really relevant to anything, but I think like a few months ago, like in January or December, so like half a year ago, I got Final Fantasy XIV, and I played it, and I recorded it, and it was really boring. I mean, more than my usual stuff, which is saying something, because I'm not the most, you know, fun Let's Player. I know I'm not. I don't try to be, because I think that's, you know, pandering for views. But, I played Final Fantasy XIV. Like, 4 hours worth. I was a white mage, or whatever the white mage equivalent was. I had fun, but going back and trying to edit it all, it was just kind of a slog to watch, and I didn't even... I mean, if I find it boring, what's that going to say about everyone else? So, I'm not doing Final Fantasy XIV, is I guess what I'm trying to say. I think part of that is that it's a very cookie-cutter kind of Let's Play, like, reminiscent of the whole theme park where they kind of put you on this set path, kind of. Oddly enough, Final Fantasy XI is kind of the opposite, and I think I would be more interested in playing that, but I don't know if there's any support for that, which is I guess why I'm putting this in this video, if anyone's still watching this far. Like, if you want me to play Final Fantasy XI at some point, say it. Because, yeah, that's about it. That's pretty much it as far as what I have to say. So, I guess I'm going to end this episode, but because of the way I'm doing this, because I recorded it in advance, I kind of just played for 20 minutes and recorded that grinding. So, yeah, next time on Final Fantasy II, we're actually going to get some progress done, so I guess I'll see you then, guys. Take care.